A warehouse manager in Birmingham gets a call. Someone walked away with £10,000 worth of stock. He's got 14 cameras, 30 days of footage. His team spent 4 hours scrubbing through it just to find 40 seconds of useful video. That's not a security system, that's just an expensive hard drive. In this video, I'm going to show you the 4 levels of what AI can do with the cameras you probably already have, from a smart recording all the way to a system you can actually talk to. Over the past 5 years, I've been building computer vision security systems professionally. Most recently, a weapon detection system for a US security firm running over 1,000 live camera streams simultaneously. That project, combined with the research I did reviewing commercial and open source landscape for this video, is exactly what you are getting here. By the end, you will know exactly which level your system is currently at, what's realistic to achieve without a full reveal, and where the AI generally moves the needle. Let's start with the first level, which is an NVR or network video recording. Most businesses already have this. This effectively is like a computer that you put in your network and it's going to record the streams from all the cameras that you are interested on. And in the example that we were talking on the Birmingham warehouse, they already had that. It's about like having the recording ready when you actually need it. But what can we use for detections? That's the interesting part here. The most basic way to do that is motion detection. First level is about like 2 different frames, like 2 consecutive frames. The problem is that it would detect pretty much anything. So imagine like a curtain being moved by the wind, a tree, anything like that, or just a fan spinning. In the example of the Birmingham warehouse, we actually would get around like 10,000 detections a day, which is like clearly way too much. So the next level is like slightly improved motion detection. So instead of just looking at 2 different frames, we look at the sequence of them. So we can actually filter out like constant motion, like the curtain. The problem, like anything like a cat, a dog, any sort of animal moving by, that would be picked as movement. This would reduce around the 10,000 detections a day to around 2,000, just to put some specific numbers. Those are what you can use for alerts in this first level. Regarding the options for open source, we have Frigate, which is completely free and open source, which is quite nice. You can just install it in any computer you want. You put it in your network, you tell what cameras you are interested in recording. It has like very nice smooth scrolling, so you can actually scrub over the time footage very nicely. When it comes to the commercial application, we have Milestone X Protect and Avigilon, which are enterprise VMS platforms. They provide like the hardware and everything already. So it's a lot less headache upfront, but you are in a locked system. The second level is real-time alerts, and the most interesting technology is object detection. So if we have an object detection model that is about detecting persons, meaning that we give an image to it, and the output is going to be like we have 3 people in this image, and the detections are in these particular locations. Those are the bounding boxes that you can see around the objects. Quick note, even though a lot of people likes to call them AI security cameras, very rarely there's any sort of AI running on the camera itself. Normally happens on a separate server. About the open source options, depend on the dataset that they have been trained on, what they actually going to be able to detect. For example, if we use the Coco dataset, going to be trained to detect 80 different classes. Those are like common objects like cat, dog, person, car, things like that. And they're going to be able to detect those. So for example, if you want to do just trespassing detection on forbidden areas, you can get one of those models. And if you detect the person there, you're pretty much done. A slightly more complex example would be the one that we did for our client, Angel Protection, on detection firearms on US high schools. Basically, they had 2 different constraints. One like this CCTV perspective, this top-down view, and the other one is the gun itself would need to appear relatively small when we find that data set. It actually needs to follow that, because it's about like finding the most realistic images that you can for your particular project. Regarding the commercial applications, there are different ones that we can use, like Verdansk and Rhombus. They tend to be more processing on the cloud, which you can do if you run your own models as well, but they tend to be more a subscription, plug and play, just detect anything that they already have trained on. It's more rare that they are custom specific things. A few good examples about like real-time alerts would be, forbidden objects, like we mentioned, guns, trespassing, as we mentioned, and also like for quality control to detect if there's any sort of piece that is missing in manufacturing. That is very useful. And on the theft case, what this actually means is that we can reduce down the 2,000 detections that we had with motion to around 250 if we actually use person detection. And we can even further filter that out by using face recognition in order to make sure that we are not detecting particular employees. So that would bring it down from 250 to around 50 detections a day, which starts to be more manageable. The third level is behavioral analysis. So before we were looking at a single frame and just detecting as much as we could from it. Now it's slightly different. Now we look at multiple frames. I try to understand what is going on as a sequence. So analyzing the video rather than the image. So that can be very useful for different types of applications like loitering detection, zone intrusion, fight detection, theft detection, things like that. And even like flow analysis to understand like where in a supermarket the people are actually spending time on, unattended luggage in the airports, for example. And what's interesting is that while we require a little bit more hardware to perform that, it's not a massive increase. Regarding the open source tools that we can actually use for this application, it depends a lot on what we are trying to achieve. But for example, we can use like DeepSort, which effectively does is tracking. So we can actually see, instead of detecting like just the people, we can detect them and then track them, see how they're actually moving over time for what you can imagine, like loitering, flow analysis, and all these type of application that can be very useful. And we do not only need to detect a single type of object, right? If we detect the people and the bags, we can detect unattended luggages for post-estimation plus a classifier. That's another type of applications that we can actually do with that. Like post-estimation effectively means to detect the different joints of humans. So for detecting if there is like a fight or there is some sort of violence, or more interesting like fall detection to prevent accidents and stuff like that, that's also very, very useful. Regarding commercial solutions, we have Gentech and Spot AI that they don't require like on-house services, are more plug and play, more subscription. As you can see, it's a bit of a constant with the more commercial providers. And they have quite a lot of useful applications like trespass, for-leak near miss, PPE violations, and sleep and fall detection. What would that actually mean for the theft case that we've been monitoring? It would mean that the 50 detections that we have after filtering for face recognition, they would go around 10 detections or so, just to make sure that we have people like loitering around. The fourth level is conversational AI, and it effectively means that you can ask, the same way that you ask ChatGPT, anything that you want about like your footage. So is there any particular thing that you are interested about that it's probably not captured on the previous level? That's what this actually brings. And an interesting note is that while the previous two levels, 2 and 3, they actually use AI, they didn't use any sort of LLMs. And it's interesting to point because like if you look at the news these days, it seems like the only form of AI is LLMs. But as you could see, there was quite a lot that we managed to do without them. So let's see what they bring to the table and also what they take to run. So what they bring to the table, I think, is this nice, simple interface that we are all used with ChatGPT or Cloud from Anthropic, and effectively giving a simple way to query the information and making your own explorations with your own ideas and being able to find the information that you want. What they take is a lot, and I mean a lot more resources to actually run. While there are like smaller models that we can run, like compared to the previous levels, it requires a lot more powerful hardware. So it means more money, as you can imagine. Regarding the commercial applications, like Chrome AI and Contour offer natural language search. What does it actually mean for the theft case? It's not about detections anymore and bringing them down. It's about being able to do the explorations. Is there anyone that you are worried that could have been planning this stuff? Is there any sort of like weird behavior that you want to explore? This is what it actually enables. So let's recap. We had the theft and we moved from having the simple motion detection, 10,000 potential detections a day, down to 2,000 with a slightly more advanced motion detection. Then we went to 250 by using object detection, down to 50 by doing face detection and filtering with the known employees, down to 10 with behavior analytics, and with the custom explorations of conversational AI, we could have even prevented even before that if we know what we're looking for. Once you figure out where you are and the problem that you are trying to solve, you can then figure out the next steps. If you are interested in hearing about a real example, the one that I've been mentioning about like firearm detection in US high schools and hospitals right now, click on the video that appears on the screen right now. And if you already have a good idea or you simply want to discuss about what's the potential for this technology in your business, there's a link in the description below. Feel free to use it to book a meeting and let's have a conversation, no pitch, just to figure out if that's the right fit for you. Until the next one.